Right, I'm going to start on this, if you were sat on the bike, is the right hand side, and the only difference really is these are like 12 point bolts, whereas it was Allen bolts on the back. Now just pull this cover off from the top, and then just, if you use both hands it might be a bit easier, and then just lift it out, and it's like clip on the bottom and a prong thing at the top. And that's what I was on about before. I'm sure that there should be one of them on the back caliper, but there isn't. And as you can see, you've got the same pin screw there, little tag in there, which is what I nearly forgot to put on the back. But what I'll do is I'll take these two mounting bolts off, and same again, just give them a little waggle just to loosen the pads off slightly, and then you can just lift. That side, funnily enough, doesn't actually look too bad, but I just had a nosy in with my torch on the other side, and that didn't look as good, but I'm still going to put new ones in. So yeah, line round as well. This caliper a blow out when I'm right. So that pin that I was on about, sorry, little clip, just pull it out, and it just sits over the pin that goes through that I screwed in on the last one. So I'll undo this one. Probably end up doing the same with this, cleaning the actual pin. Once it comes out so far, it just, there's a bit of shit in there like. So that'll be getting a clean, and then once the pin's out, basically just put your finger in the pin end, pull down on your pads, and they just lift out. Hang the caliper back down there a second. To be fair, them pads don't look very old on that side, but still putting new ones on, peace of mind and all that. In fact, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to knock you off, and I'm going to clean that pin up first, so that when I come to put it back together I can just go from scratch. So I'm back soon. Right, I cleaned my pin up and put a bit of grease on it, like my lube stuff, waterproof grease, and I had another look at these pads that I took off. Now I don't know if it'll show up on the camera, I haven't even got my torch handy, but they are actually EBC pads, these, and when you look, there's quite a lot of meat on. They're almost new. So I decided to get me verniers out and measure it. So what I've found is there's hardly any wear on them, and as they're EBC pads, I'm actually going to put these back in. I've looked at the other side. I haven't had the caliper off or out. I've just been in like shining a torch up into the caliper, and they're the same. They look the same, but both pads are measuring the same, and wherever I measure it, it's equal. So it's got even wear on both pads. So I'm actually going to put these back in. So I'm just going to give this caliper a blowout first though. Get rid of any crap that's built up in there. So it's exactly the same as if I was to put the new pads in. Just get these pads together. In fact, I'll just give that other one a bit of more of a clean. Right, I'll just knock you off a sec and give this other pad a bit more of a clean up. Right. So what I'll do is I'll put these in one at a time. Try and keep my fucking knee out of the way. So it's backwards, this one, to where I was before. I'll try and keep it in view. So get your pad, your pin end wants obviously to go to the pin end. So that bit there, if we can keep it in camera, that bit there, lining up with this hole. So put it underneath at the back. Make sure you've got it on the right side. Fuck that right up. That's better. So it's in at its on its side. Your pin's end at the right end, and then get your other one. Same thing. Push it under the blocks here. Try and keep it upright this time. So that's them in. Get the pin. Push it through the hole. There's a little bit of lube on that pin which I pointed out earlier. That's that on. But before I do all else, I'll get my little torque wrench. Because the torque on the pins are exactly the same. They're on might as well get my other torque wrench while I'm at it. So the torque the caliper back on. Just seem to remind us a bit. Still in the end of the extension. Right, so set this one up, the little one up at 11.5. The pins on all three calipers are all 11.5 Newton meters. So just that's all it takes. And this time I won't forget to put the pin in. There, the clip. Just give it a quick wipe off. So in there's a little groove that's in the pin. Just line the end of the clip up with the groove and then just push it on, and that's it. That's it in place. And then by rights, as long as I've got these right, I should be able to just put this caliper back on. Just push my pads in properly. There. And bolts. Hey fella, how you doing? Just knock you off again. Had a mate turn up then. A few visitors today. Right, where was I? Right. Right, so torque wrench set up. These want to be anywhere from sort of like 38 Newton meters up to 51. I think it's 51 and a half actually, if I remember rightly. I always just do them to 50. And then just give them both a nip. And then torque them up. Right, so that's them torqued up. Double check that your clip's in, just to make sure you haven't forgotten. And then with these grid things, shove the bottom in first, so it sits into its little bit, into the clips, and then just push the top in. And that's it, you mesh back on. Now the other side is exactly the same as this side. So what I'm going to do, I'll just do it off camera. I'll quickly do the other side, clean it up, double check the thickness of these pads, make sure they're the same. If that side's got drastic wear on it, like when I take them out there's something not right, then basically what I'll do, and I'll film it to prove I'm doing it, is this side will come back off and I will put the new pads in. But if the other side are as good as this side, then I'm going to leave them in. I'm all for, like, if something needs done, replace it. You know, like I'm still gonna flush the system through, do like a brake fluid flush. But after looking at them and how close they are to being new, on wear I mean, and the fact that they're worn equal, and the REBC pads, it's just even to me it's just a fucking waste of money to just throw them. You know, so I might as well use them. The brakes actually worked good on the front end. There's no actually wrong with the brakes. So, but as I say, if I take the other side apart and they're not right, then basically I'm going to put, because what I got for the front of this is I got the semi-sintered ones. Obviously got set for each side. So yeah, as I say, if the other side when I take it apart isn't 100%, I'll film it, I'll take these ones back off and I'll fit the new ones, you know, just to show I'm not. In fact, what I might do is once I've got the pads out the other side, I'll switch you back on and I'll show you the pads to show that they're alright or they're knackered. But either way, I'll get this other side done, and when I come back I'll show you the pads when they're out, and then when I come back after that we'll start flushing the front through. So won't be too long. Right, brought you back a little bit earlier because there's something on here you should really see. This bracket here sits on the outside, and then obviously your mounting bolts go through it. That bracket is what holds your ABS sensor in place, speed sensor, whatever you want to call it. It also carries on up your forks, and what I've done, there's a couple of cable ties there which sort of hold it to the brake line, which I've just shoved up out of there, but this other one here, if you notice, is going into the mudguard, which is what goes to the light on the front of the mudguard. So there was a couple of cable ties round them two which I've snipped off and I'll replace when I put this caliper back in. But yeah, your speed sensor, where that's cable tied on, I actually just pushed the cable ties up out of the way rather than cut them. So when I'm done, I'll just pull them back down, I'll pull them back down to where they need to be, and then add another couple of cable ties back in to hold this wire that goes through the mudguard there. But yeah, that's a bracket that holds it all to the front, and it slides up and down on the cable, so just make sure you get it in the right place, and make sure that you don't like just rive at it or out like that. You don't want to be damaging this cable. Right, knock you off again for now, and I'll come back when I've got this caliper apart. Well, got the pads out, I should say. Back in a minute. Right, measured the pads. You can see there's still loads. But what I was going to do, if I can get this to work, if I put that, you can see how much, if I can get this to fucking go right. There, that's better. Right, if I line the top of the base up, they're nearly new, and they're measured exactly the same. Both pads are exactly the same, no uneven wear on them or anything. So I'm just going to put these ones back in as well. As I said, cleaned them both up. Both got the same sort of amount of stuff on them. Pad equally worn. So now I've showed you that, what I'll do is I'll just quickly put this back together, and then we'll start doing a fluid flush on this front end. Right, won't be too long. Right, I know I said I was going to get this all back together, but I've just been cleaning the pin, and before I put any lube on it, I just thought I'd bring it in close. See the groove on the end there? Not right at the end, not this bit here. This one here is what you want to be looking at. And that's the one that this clip, when you've got it in the caliper, obviously that just slits into that groove and just sits in place like that. I just thought I'd show you that while I had it all cleaned up. Right, now I'll get it all back together. Be back soon. I've got the caliper back together, torqued up the pin, put the clip in, torqued up these, made sure that this was on properly. You know, you've got a bit of free movement in that cable. As I say, it runs through there, no problem. I've moved the two cable ties down to where they were on the cable, because there was like marks, you could see where they'd been. And basically I'm just going to put a cable tie round the whole lot again. I'll put it underneath that one. Just to put this electrical for the front mudguard light, or should I say for the fender tip. Just tidies it up a little bit. Just snip the ends off these. would if I get it in the right place. Pull that one round a bit out of the way. And that one actually. And that one. And that one. Right, so basically all that's left to do is put this, I give that a wipe out as well, clean out inside and out. So just put that, so the bottom sits in, and then push it in. And that's it. I also blew the caliper out the same as the other side. Needless to say, there was a pile of shit in there, in both of them. Well, all three calipers really. So that's all that now buttoned back up and ready to flush through. But before I flush it through, what I'll do is I'll pump the lever just to push the pads back out, same as I did on the rear brake, and then we'll get this one flushed through. So back soon. Right, so the front brakes are done now, just to flush the front brakes through. And what I'll do is I'll put the camera up at the reservoir end this time, and you can just see as it dwindles down how she keeps it topped up. Right, so I'm going to make a start down here, and I'm doing the left hand side first, which is the awkward one. Right, I'll make a start.
A little bit.
do is I'll knock it off, and I'm going to get connected up on this other side, and then we'll do the other side caliper. There's quite a lot of fluid coming to that bottle on the vacuum, so it is flushing it through. Right, I'll be back in a minute. Swapped over, got connected to the right side caliper, and we're going to do the same thing. Draw some more through, which will clear this side as well. Right, are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Right, the hissing you heard just at the end there, that was just as I pull it off the caliper. I put a bit of pressure on so it doesn't leak out onto the caliper. So the level looks alright in there. The handlebars aren't 100% level, so it is slightly off, but the level's fine. So I'll knock you off for now, we'll get a bit of a clean up, get this lid put back on, and then we'll move on to the next bit. Right, walk along. Right, got the top back on, double check the level before I put the top on. Once I got the top on, I had to wipe around, make sure there was no spilt, because there was a couple of drips. So I cleaned them up, and then what I'd done, sprayed some solvent cleaner on, a mild solvent cleaner, wiped that all over, and then blew it off with the airline. So that's clean. But another thing I wanted to point out, which I should have said right at the start really, is, if I can get that to go down, on top of the leg shield I've got an oil soak, but there's also a well folded sort of old rag underneath as well, so if that's just oil that was on anyways. But if out a major had dripped, it would all soaked into that rather than going on the paint. So I just thought I'd show you that. Right, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bleed the clutch. Not bleed the clutch, I'm going to flush it through again, like so it's got fresh fluid in right through. So I'll knock you off, get you set up in a different spot, and we'll do that. Right, back soon. Right, I've turned the bars the other way, and I've took the cap off the clutch reservoir, and look at that murky shit. That should be the same nice sort of goldy colour as the yellowy goldy colour, whatever it is, as what's in the other reservoirs. And same thing, I've swapped the that off the other leg shield and put it onto this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set you up down by the end of the gearbox and take the cover off to get at the bleed screw. Right, back in a minute. Right, get your cover off. There's only 2 Allen bolts that hold it on, so we'll just have them off. While I'm on with this, actually, these are 3/16, these Allen heads. What I should have said, which I didn't, on the caliper on the back, the 2 bolts that were holding the caliper on, they were an 8mm Allen head, they're metric, and the little pin that goes through, that's metric as well. And I think, if I can remember where I put the fucking thing. I think that's the right one. I'll just test it in this caliper. Yeah, that's the one. That's a 5mm. The pins, so they're metrics. But these, obviously on the engine, are back to imperial. So, just undo this, and the other one on this end. As you can see there, the cover's just rattling about straight away. Basically, that's all it is now, it's just a cover. Sort of like what you would class on your old Evos and stuff as your points cover. Well, not points cover, electronic ignition. On the twin cams, it's just there for decoration. It's just a cover that covers nothing. Well, this now is just there for decoration. It's just a cover there, and it just lifts out. As I said, just a cover, and there you have your I'll just zoom in a touch. As you can see there, that's your bleed nipple. So what I should have done before I started was get the right size spanner for that, and if I've struck lucky, that's the one. Yeah, that'll do it. Right, what I'm just going to quickly do, and you'll hear it, is using that suction, the vacuum suction that I did the calipers with. I'm just going to suck the fluid out of the reservoir on the clutch reservoir. Now it doesn't matter on the clutch reservoir if you empty it like I just have, because we're going to be pushing fluid in here. So in a sense we're pushing the fluid back up to the reservoir from here. So any air that's in there will push out up to the reservoir anyways. And what I'm just going to quickly do, I'm just going to knock you off. And I'm just going to give the reservoir a wipe out now it's empty. If you've seen the state of the colour of the stuff that was in it, I'm just going to get any of the shit out that's in there. I'll just be a minute. Right, so I've cleaned out the reservoir. I'm going to put me, well maybe not. I might need a smaller pipe for this. Right, I'll be back in a minute. Right, I've changed the pipe, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to pump it in at this end, and my glamorous assistant is going to tell me when the reservoir's full, and I'll stop that, if you know what I mean, close it. I'll suck out the reservoir again with the vacuum, and then I'll do it again, fill it up, stop, close that, suck out the reservoir, and then I'll fill it again, and then on the third time it'll be proper clean fluid that's in there. So I'll just put a little bit of pressure on there so that when I open it, it just starts pushing straight away. Right, and as you can see there on the pipe, it's starting to go through. And is that coming up in the reservoir? Cool. So just keep pumping, as in pushing on the syringe. About half. Right, so keep pushing while you lock it off until it's locked. And I'll just quickly suck this bit out. It is minging, isn't it? Right, I'll do the same again. Right, so I've emptied the reservoir again, as you'll have heard. So start pressing this syringe so that there's pressure on it, and then open that up again. And looking at the shit that came through, filling up. I said I was going to fill it up, empty it, fill it up, empty it and fill it up again. It depends on what it's looking like when it gets... So that's full. Just keep pressing your syringe to keep the pressure on. And then once it's locked, I'll just go and empty this reservoir again. Still minging. Oh, it's a lot better though. Still minging. So the stuff that was coming through was still minging, as in shitty. So pressure on the syringe again and open her up. Right, and you don't want to be putting massive amounts of pressure on this when you're pressing your syringe through. You just want it enough that you can that it'll push it up, but if you push it too hard it'll actually squirt up in the air, and that's not what you want. It's still shitty. No, I think next one will do it. So, I'm going to empty it again. It's a lot cleaner now than it was. So hopefully this next batch should see it. Right, so pressure on the syringe, open the bleeder up. Just keep the pressure on. And that's now filled up. If it isn't full, I can top it up. But that's now nice clean fluid in there. So what I want to do now is actually start pulling the syringe back on itself as I release this, and then it'll suck the fluid back into the syringe, which I will then empty. What's left in the syringe will get emptied into a waste sort of jar. Give that a clean, and then find the little cap that was on there. In fact, what I'll do before I put the cap on is I'll just give it a little nip up. So that's definitely tight. Put the cap on, and just top up the reservoir with the bottle. I'll just lift it off here and show you what this stuff looks like now. If you remember from before what it was like, just zoom out a touch. As you can see there, that's nice clean fluid now. And if you're very careful and pull your lever in, just which what I'm doing there, very slowly, cool as. I will have to syringe just a little bit out of there. I've just topped it up a bit too much, but that's not an issue. So what I'll do is I'll knock you off. I'll just syringe a little bit out of there just to get the level down a bit. I'll clean the rubber that goes in, and then I'll put the top back on, and that'll be the brakes with clean, good fresh fluid through it. Clutch has got fresh fluid through it. New brake pads on the back, and obviously the front ones cleaned up and put back in because they were alright. Right, I'll knock you off for now. I'll come back soon. Right, I've cleaned up the rubber and the cap and put them back on the reservoir, and had a check up there, make sure there's no brake fluid sort of drip anywhere. Cleaned it all up. So we're going to put the cover back on here. I've blown all the shit off this and give it a quick wipe over, because this is just a cover, so inevitably you're going to get dust inside it. But I've cleaned it up on there, cleaned the inside of the cover. So basically, just make sure that when you put it on, that your grommet where your pipe comes through sits in the slot in the cover, and then just put your bolts back in. And then basically these just get torqued up to 13.5 Newton meters. I better set that first before Newton meters. 11, 13 and a half. And that's that. I'll just take the pressure off, the torque. So that's the brakes and the clutch with new fluid in, new brake pads in the back. I've already said this, like brake pads in the front cleaned up and put back in because they were alright. And that's it for now. I'll be back soon with the next bit. Right, won't be long. Right, got the heat shields back on and footboards on this side. Looks looking better. But when you look down there, you haven't got the big clump anymore. It was the flap, the exhaust flap that is. So, right, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to lift the tank and see if I can get these plug leads off and the new ones on. So we'll see how it goes. Right, back soon.